Walter Soaring Eagle. Let's see, Reverend, Chief, Doctor of Metaphysics. My thesis is the Physics of Ascension. I'm Chief of the Mini Walks, who developed here in the 90s, and under the guidance of Grandfather Hollis Little Creek of the Red Lakes Anishinaabe, who has passed. And after John Armbruster also passed, and in 2005 I was asked to be the chief of what we now call the Mini Walks.
How has everything started? Like where you was born and how you become the priest that you are right now?
Well, I was a Navy brat, I guess. Father was at the naval base in Philadelphia, and I was born in Woodbury, New Jersey. But immediately after I was born, he was transferred to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and we moved to Springfield, Ohio, then to Cincinnati, where he went to work for Ford Motor Company. And so primarily grew up in Cincinnati and left about 1984 and began a very significant spiritual journey. In 1987, I was given a quest to find and establish a homeland to the tribe of the Phoenix, not having a clue what that was about. Events started occurring in my life where I received channeled information, visions and things like that led me to spend 2 years in Sarasota, Florida under the mentorship of Grandfather Chief Low Summer, Hawk Clan Chief of the Shawnee, who trained me in the shamanic Kundalini and chakra light manifestation. He asked me to take those teachings out into the world and share it with my brothers and sisters, and I was able to return 6 months before he passed to inform him that I had passed from lip to ear his teachings to over 10,000 people. All right, so after I left my studies with Chief Low Summer, began the real quest to try and find and establish the homeland to the tribe of the Phoenix, which ultimately turned out to be here in Sedona, Arizona. The reason for that is that we have these vortexes here, and they tend to create kind of a psychic amplifier. So if you're going through your stuff, you're likely going through pure hell. And that pure hell that you're going through is the metaphorical phoenix fire. And if you can find the courage within yourself to step through those flames of fear, you'll find the love of our Creator waiting for you on the other side, so that you may walk forever without fear as you step into heaven on earth. So you see, heaven's not a place we're going to, it's a state of consciousness we become. And we become that state of consciousness by embracing more and more of the unconditional love that exists everywhere at all times, including loving ourselves enough to receive that love. And things just seem to manifest in our lives. Rather than making something happen, we're simply present as things start to happen. We cross paths with the right people at the right time, for whatever reason and purpose that might provide.
If we are going to be a super simple, how you are going to describe vortex for someone who just don't even know anything about energy, like for people who are just mainstream, what is the vortex?
Well, obviously if you want to see a vortex, you can flush a toilet, right? That's a vortex. And that spins the opposite direction on the southern hemisphere. So these are electromagnetic vortexes. For example, Cathedral Rock is a magnetic vortex, and magnetic draws into itself, right? And that's feminine. The masculine vortexes, such as Airport or Bell Rock, project outward. The energy moves up and out, okay? And so that's a masculine attribute. Just like when a man and woman come together, the man releases, the woman receives. It's that basic and that simple. These magnetic energies stimulate cellular memory release. So if we've buried something deep inside, it's likely it's going to come up. And the people that you become closest to have a divine responsibility to push those buttons in you that can bring these to the surface so that you'll deal with it. You might hate that person for doing that. You might throw them out of your life. But after all, they are your buttons who are being pushed by someone who is being guided by divinity, whether they know it or not, to push those buttons in you, just like you're pushing other people's buttons. We all have buttons, we all have triggers, and it becomes a matter of, are we willing to look at these issues and bring resolution to it, rather than keep stuffing it until we get cancer and die.
Well, how about your personal journey? How do you describe, the vortexes, like when you find them and how you actually ended up in Sedona?
Well, ending up in Sedona was a lot of pieces of information collected over several years that actually didn't lead me to Sedona. It led me to Pointon Canyon, which is here in the Sedona area. And so when I arrived in Sedona, the first 2 weeks I was here, I stayed back in Pointon Canyon. And that's also a feminine vortex. It's like going back into the womb of the Earth Mother and experiencing death and rebirth. In Long Canyon, in 91, I had to, I had built a medicine wheel that takes a year to build. But I got slammed by someone for my ego here in Sedona early in the 90s. It's like I showed up in Sedona as Soaring Eagle, a name that I had received from a rainbow gathering in Nevada. And of course, people were quick to call me Boring Ego, Soaring Ego, Snoring Beagle, and basically made fun of a lot of what I was trying to achieve and accomplish in my life. I'm still called Soaring Eagle. Obviously, I have soared all over the United States and Canada and a few other places to finally come to these perceptions and awarenesses that I now hold in my heart. It took the medicine wheel that I created was a vision that I had of a medicine wheel I could see from space. And so the medicine wheel that I built here in Sedona, which took 3 years to build and put together, is 7 miles in diameter, and it envelops the entire city of Sedona. It declared Sedona the homeland of the tribe of the Phoenix, but also, as I was once known as Mod Elf Vader of the Elf Lore family, I'm an elven magician who's been trained in weather magic, invoked that unto anyone who would step through this wheel for even a moment would have their DNA activated, stimulated, and awakened, which would gently stimulate people to ask that question that has them putting a foot outside their paradigmic box of religious belief and dogmatic belief. If they get an answer that makes sense, they might take that other foot and step completely outside that box and actually begin walking a spiritual journey, walking the red road, for example. And so it is a gentle way to wake people up so that they can remember that they are the angels of co-creation. So we who are the tribe of the Phoenix are those who are willing to walk through the flames of our fear, that we might know the love of God waiting for us on the other side, that we may walk forever without fear as we step into heaven on earth. This home that we have here in Sedona, this Airbnb, is a manifestation of that unfoldment here in Sedona. Spirit, through a chain of miraculous events, which included our next door neighbor in Louisville, Kentucky dying to make sure we were able to get enough funds to end up here in Sedona and receive this house that was $300,000 below market value. And so literally in a week's time, Spirit handed us $500,000 in benefits so we could be here to have these types of conversations with our brothers and sisters who travel from all over the world to be here now. And as a result, I don't have to leave the house to receive abundant prosperity. People show up at our house and hand us money. And that's kind of in a flow of heaven on earth. We have abundant prosperity. We get to interact with lovely, wonderful people. We develop new friendships. And it's just a manifestation of love light manifesting within our hearts that then manifest heaven on earth all around us.
That's incredible. And I can tell I experienced that. So I absolutely love this house and this place. And we will do a small tour in a little bit. But I want to also ask you about your gift. and the healing journey that is bring you to the realization that you actually can help people. Because I receive a special treatment from you, and I want you to just like explain to anyone out there what is your gift and how you heal people, how you can help them.
All right. So in 1990, I received a treatment known as Axiatonial alignment therapy from a woman by the name of Joy. I'll just use that name alone. And I was able to observe her perform this process many, many times. Having a fairly high IQ with photographic audiographic memory, I was able to lock that in permanently to my memory. And at the time, I was also a massage therapist when I studied in Sarasota at the Sarasota School of Massage. And so I'd add this on to my massages as a treatment. But as I was in Sedona, I was drawn more to an income source in construction, because I'm also a master builder. And so the massage work kind of fell to the wayside, and it had lost it for a bit. In 1998, I was a sun dancer, and I was asked to go speak to the people in Allegan, Michigan at the property of Dean and Mary Hardy, who wrote all the books on pyramid power. And I said, Creator, I can get up there, but I don't know if I can get out. What do I do? And Spirit says, do the Axiatonial. I said, boy, I haven't done that in a long time. I don't know if I remember it. Spirit said, look in your body, it's there. And so I went into my meditations and I looked at all these golden beams of light shining through my body. And so I set up my teepee, which is kind of like a pyramid, and put my massage table, which is the same massage table we have here. And I did 100 treatments in one day.
Oh my God, 100?
100 treatments in a day.
Wow.
And then the next morning, I spoke, and 200 people came to hear me speak, and I did another 100 treatments that day. And so I then had plenty of financial abundance to do what I needed to do. And so then people asked me, will I come to Clarkville, Michigan to share my information? Will I come to Paw Paw, to Battle Creek? And someone made available to me a lovely place to live in Plymouth, Michigan. I was given a radio show, which we called Spirits Talking, where I'd interview people in the areas of healing modalities, spiritual philosophies, and modern, more of our more spiritual music lines. And I ended up speaking at the request of others for the next 3 years. I then had to relocate back down to Cincinnati because my father was dying, and I had a lot of unresolved issues with my dad. I was a violently assaulted child, and I had to make peace with that. And ultimately, I was the one to close my father's eyes when he died. And so he finally recognized that, as it turns out, I was the actual priest of the family. So I would still be asked to do workshops sporadically. And I went back to my trade of construction to make ends meet and such as that. And so I was away from Sedona for nearly 20 years, and had come back occasionally to visit folks and do things for my friends and that. And so that journey continued again. So I went from Cincinnati back down to Atlanta, back down to Florida, and then back here to Sedona. And well, not from Florida, actually we went back to Cincinnati, then to Louisville, where I met Vivian Gabbert, who's my companion and best friend, really. And so we were able to, she wanted to leave Louisville because she'd lived there her whole life. And we were trying to sell her home. She had 2 houses on 3 acres, so we had to divide the property so we could sell each house separately. I did a lot of work on her property to get it prepared. She lived next door to George Frazier, whose family owns Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, and all these distilleries, and he was very rich. In fact, for Christmas, he gave me a Formula 3 race car for Christmas, so he had room in his 10-car garage for a $1 million 918 Porsche. So George was unfortunately an alcoholic, and at that time I had 21 years of sobriety. Today I have 29 years of sobriety. And I went to him and I said, George, there's things we can talk about. And he never spoke to me again. So George tripped, he fell, he hurt his knee, got an infection, 3 weeks later was dead at 47 years old with all the money in the world. Across from his fence is a fellow named Junior Bridgman, who was a basketball star and owns 500 Wendy's. And he gets a first right of refusal for George's 27-acre estate, 8,000 square foot house, and needs us to get off the front 3 acres, so he gives us $200,000 more than we're asking, so we can close in 15 days and be gone 30 days after. At the exact same time, this house came off a pending sale with a horrible yard, $300,000 under what it should have been selling for. And so we bought the house basically sight unseen, other than what we saw on the internet, and that is how we got back here to Sedona.
Wow. Have you ever felt scary or unsure about what you are doing to people? Like, you are getting into this treatment and you are affecting their vibration, so it's maybe scary, or you're unsure if you do the right thing and stuff like that.
Well, Axiatonial alignment is a means by which we reawaken a fifth dimensional circulatory system, which is described in Key 317 of the Keys of Enoch. It's like a astral meridian system that then makes us a conduit between Father Thought and Mother Form. And we are the memory complex that has traveled for eons and eons of time to be this personality. And so through Axiatonial, then, we are now a conduit of energy between Father Thought and Mother Form, so that we recognize that these ideas that come into our mind are divinely planted. It is God thinking. And so we have the right to choose, are we going to do anything with this idea? And so we visualize the idea and we get a good image of it. We decide that we're going to go upon action toward this, so we use the throat chakra, the word is the will, asking, shall receive, I'm going to do this. We love the idea in our heart. We get emotionally charged by it, so we start sharing that with others who help us bring together whatever team we need to make manifest this idea, which then comes into fruition into the physical world. And so this is basically the idea of manifestation through the chakras. And so in doing so, we are manifesting the will of God upon the earth as the angels of co-creation. You see, we all fell into forgetting. We forgot that we were angels of God. And we start playing out this game of the ego and separation, thinking that God's out there somewhere, rather than recognizing that behind this camera is this beautiful woman who is a manifestation of God in human form. And so, as I look into her eyes, I can see God looking back at me. And if God is seeing everything that I do before this woman, how could I trespass against her? Because if I do, I know that God knows the trespass I've committed. So how could I want to do anything but enhance who she is? And who she is has this wonderful podcast who wants to share this information with all those who will listen. And so here I, without reservation, sit here sharing my heart's truth, so that perhaps something that I say might ring true in your heart that will help you along your journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I really can feel that. And this is an amazing idea of everyone is an angel, and we really forgot about that. And I felt something through my whole night after the treatment that I don't know what was that, but it was a rough night. I didn't actually kind of sleep well, but then after, next day, I felt different in a good way. Have you ever heard anything like that from the people you did treatment with, like that, how they feel after, and if they have a good night or anything like that?
Sometimes people will just stay on the table for, well, I've seen someone stay on the table for 2 hours after a treatment. Her son came down and put his hand on her face. She didn't stir. One of our cats got up and jumped on her lap, and she didn't budge. She was gone bye-bye. She was off on a journey. We've seen miracles happen. My son Ryan, who in 2007 was a professional photographer for Lifetouch doing school photography, he woke up one morning completely and totally blind in his left eye. By the end of the day, they had determined he had multiple sclerosis. At the time, I was in Berkeley, California, and he was in Cincinnati, so I had to make way back home, which took some time. But when I got there, I was able to do Axiatonial on him, and within a week, his vision started coming back. 4.5 years ago, we all went to Rome because my oldest son, Adam, got married in the Vatican. And Ryan had to be there as best man. And to get a passport, he had to have all these tests done, and they couldn't find the MS anywhere in his body. I was able to come home to my son after years and years of being on a spiritual journey. And I was able to bring home a miracle to my son.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. And I'm sure you will help many, many people too. And your gift is amazing. And it's something that I never experienced before. So thank you for that. If you would know that this is your last day on this planet, what you would tell people out there? What you would share from your experience on this planet?
First of all, I've been dead twice.
What?
This body's been dead twice.
How has that happened?
It died on April 20th, 1974, when Walter died on an angel dust overdose. Walter was a drug addict. I was part of the recovery team to help him get back in his body, but he chose to go home. And I was selected among those of us who were present to continue his life journey. And of course, entering into his body, turning the lights back on, bringing the Kundalini to the base of the spine, reanimating life. I woke up as Walter, unaware that I had any other previous experience. After years and years and years of waking up, I finally came to full recall of those events of that day. And so some might say I'm a walk-in. Grandfather Hollis, not grandfather, but Chief Little Summer says we're what they call transcendental souls. And we come into these situations so that we can more quickly awaken the body and the consciousness to their divine source. And so obviously I was able to do that quite well. But it did take years and years and years of little bits and pieces and little memory flashes and things like that to finally stimulate enough awareness that I could come to full recall of the events that occurred that day. Oddly enough, in 1990, when after I had received Axiatonial from Joy, of course I was in a relationship for a time with her and her 2 children, who I became very close to. And she decided one day she's going to go off with this other fella, and I was shattered, so I was in my 69 Volkswagen school bus at Michael Chastain's house, and I went into broken heart syndrome, which caused a heart attack, and I died for a period of time. I went back to my resident star, which is Gamma Cephei, which in about 500 years will be our North Star. And I was recognized by others who honored me for having come here to try and make a change. And if I felt I hadn't completed my work, that I was encouraged to consider coming back into the body. And in that time, I was able to pass Chief Little Summer's teachings of the Shamanic Kundalini and Chakra Light Magic to over 10,000 people. I was able to train over 1,500 Axiatonial practitioners. I was able to lay hands on over 12,000 people and be witness to countless miracles. It'd take me hours to describe all the miracles that I know of that resulted from people receiving Axiatonial. Not only that, events like we have a girl who came here around Christmas time 3 years ago. And her professional job at that time was arranging manufacturing for people in Taiwan and various Asian countries. And now she operates a business called Soul Search, which is like a clearinghouse for people doing spiritual work. So people all over can go to soulsearch.com or .co, I think it is. Anyway, so that you can find someone in your area who specializes in a certain field that you might have an interest in. And now she's doing Soul Search psychic fairs. So after giving Tangela all these treatments, she's transformed her life where she's doing her spiritual work in her daily life now. And all of her prosperity comes from her connecting people to other people of spiritual and healing characteristics. Because you see, she developed all these gifts and talents that she's now making manifest on earth so that more people can wake up, more people can have that experience from a countless number of people that can help them on their spiritual journey. And that's kind of like what happens with Axiatonial. For example, I received Axiatonial in 1990. In 1992, I was down in Anaheim, California, converting what looked like a Kmart garage into an artisan mall as a carpenter. We happened to be there during the Big Bear earthquake and the Rodney King riots. And so I was drawn to go experience the riots. So I walked down Vermont Street, where friends of mine once lived, walking toward UCLA through South Central LA, and I walked past probably 20 gang members carrying handguns and Uzis. I stepped off the curb and I watched them all walk past me, and not one looked back at me. No one made an attempt on my life, which by all rights I should be dead because of that. But I was asking Spirit, what can I do to help? Which was raising my vibration to a compassionate love vibration, while they were still in this hate, fear, and judgment vibration. And so they couldn't see the love walking past them. And Spirit, of course, said rain would help. Having been Model Vader with the Elf Lore family, I learned a thing or two about weather work. And so I had the gifts and talents to make manifest the will of God upon the earth. And so I went to my medicine well in Idlewild, California, along the Strawberry Creek, where it splits into an island, which is where I have my medicine wheel. I called the Archangel Sandalphon that rules over Melchizedek on the Tree of Life, and the Cherubium angels that operate the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, to bring all the moisture over 500 miles to my counterclockwise spinning crown chakra, that I might be the center of a low pressure system that would bring upon the city of Los Angeles rain, that would help put out the fires that have overwhelmed 500 alarms, create an unpleasant environment for rioting and looting, and wash away the negative emotions so that the healing could begin. And within 6 hours it rained for 5 days. Greater things than this shall you do. This is what our brother told us some 2,000 years ago. Right? Open up your heart to the compassionate love and be the person who invokes or lay hands on those that need that manifestation of God's love to transform who they are and what situation they're in.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Could you do a small tour for the house?
A prayer?
Of the house? A small tour?
Oh, a small tour. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, if anyone wants to find you and follow your journey, connect to you, or they need your treatment, how they can find you?
Well, I'm at Walter Soaring Eagle Kohler on Facebook. I think it's Walter Soaring Eagle on Instagram. We have Casa Remuda, Remuda, Sedona. You can Google that and find us. And if you should be interested, you can Google the Melchizedek method of Axiatonial, Axiatonal.
Thank you so much.
And I think you can find out lots of information about it. We are here at 41 Remuda Road in Sedona, Arizona, 86336.
I will add all this information in the description down below so everyone can find it easy. Thank you so much for your time.
All right.
it, guys. It's my last day in Sedona and I'm in the car getting ready to drive to Phoenix. It was an amazing time. I don't even have words to describe how much fun, excitement, healing, inner power, conversation, people I met here. It was truly one of the best experiences of my life, and it's changed me a lot. Sedona is the place to change. I had to stop in my favorite kava bar to grab a CBD wine back to Hawaii because I wanted to have it with me when I get back with my husband. We're gonna drink that wine because I fell in love with that. I don't want an alcohol wine anymore. And then I'm gonna meet up with my friend in Phoenix and fly back to Hawaii tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I'll see you soon in the next one.